Namo I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So, before we continue where we left off last week, we'll do a brief review of the part of the text that we covered the previous week. So, if one turns to page 15, or at the beginning of the very beginning of the commentary, you'll see verse 1. We'll go ahead and read verse 1, and this is the root. If you look in the text at the very beginning, starting from page 1, is the actual root text that's separately included. So you have 14 stanzas in the actual root text, and then once we go into the commentary, each verse is explained. And so for verse 1, the foundation of all good qualities is a kind guru. Cultivating the guru properly is the root of the path. Realizing this clearly with great diligence, please bless me to rely on the guru with highest devotion. So the first line of this verse, or the foundation of all good qualities, is a kind guru. We focus what we have gone through the past couple of weeks is focused on the term in the word, the final word in that first line there, which is guru. And we emphasized the definition and the characteristics of the guru by going through the 10 qualities of the teacher or the guru. And then we followed that up last week by going through the 6 attitudes of the student. And then or rather, before the 6 attitudes of the student, we covered the 3 faults. The 3 faults of a vessel, and this applies to the listener of the teaching. And then, after covering the 3 faults of a vessel, we moved on to the 6 attitudes of a student. What we've covered so far can be found in the details of which can be found in the introduction of the text, which begins on page 5. So if you go to, and this is again for those who are joining us for the first time, to give you a little bit more detail and context here. On page 10, you'll see the 10 qualities of a teacher. On page 9, you'll see the 3 faults of a vessel. And then on page 12 are the 6 attitudes of a student. So just to kind of give you a brief review, I'll read the 6 attitudes of the student because that's what we particularly covered last week. So I'll read the 6 attitudes of a student again. On page 12, it reads, whenever we engage in a Dharma discourse, we should strive to maintain the following 6 attitudes. Number 1, to view ourselves as a critically ill person. Number 2, to view the teaching that is being offered to us as treatment for our illness. Number 3, to view the teacher as a skilled doctor. Number 4, to understand that if we practice the Dharma diligently, it will cure our illness, but that we will need to seek this treatment for a great length of time in order to make a full recovery. Number 5, to view the Buddha as a holy being. And then lastly, number 6, to wish for the teachings to endure in the world for a long time. For those of you who are joining us for the first time and who would like to be able to catch up with that, please refer to the actual text itself. And then we do have videos from the previous sessions on our website as well. So what we'll do is read from the commentary. Today we'll actually be reading from the commentary itself on page 15, and we'll read, and then after a certain part, we'll stop, provide a brief emphasis on that section of the text, and then give everyone the opportunity to share and interact, ask questions, and discuss. So we can all read collectively if everyone would kindly follow along and read the commentary with us. The first verse begins, the foundation of all good qualities is the kind Guru. This refers to the Guru with the 10 qualifications. The Guru is the source of all the teachings we receive and is the one who reveals to us the error-free path to enlightenment. Any and all realizations we gain come about through our reliance upon such a Guru. The word foundation in the first line is very significant. It's an all-encompassing word. Here we can think about the grass, the trees, the rocks, the ground, the entire inheritance of the earth upon which we depend as our foundation for life. Likewise, the Guru who reveals the error-free path is comparable to the earth in that he or she is the foundation of all good qualities. The Guru is described as kind because it is the Guru who shows us the path of liberation. Therefore, the kindness of the Guru is something far beyond the everyday kindness of ordinary people. This mass program hajige dashabe. This chiksharo.
Re antina lola.
Ore.
Nan kunzu chwa ta yana wata.
Ore.
Tenje tu mu tara.
Ore.
An
Ordinane Jampa ke suanwe te konuchi. Mixe sudu tenchike atende suanwe.
nasta tina lola su.
Si ate dagini tamana sharwa.
Re
Ani
yu chen chen ji se de lo.
chesea. Cheseta. Yorwa. Otanzo mixe.
Antina lola ga su shinye gi den choto de su chingsa wara.
Ore.
Tanda mi se she bu ya tande. 파지 먹고 있어도 지내면 돼. 알았어. 안티나로 지도 지라 지도 대건 리시 테스트 배잖아. 리고 단다 디나로 배텐 샤도 왔다. 사당 되는 샤도. 다 딩나란소디 신예 된중아 주 연된 강한 지어데 참아. 아니 기신예를 때는 종우를 날 줘라. 디 나란소 수수를 로정 기저리나 수치 자샤나. 네, 보여서라. 배치셔나. 저런 트레인들 인줄로 둬야 돼. 파타도와이나 당부치랑에 애수이 라바레스. 엔 딩고 주고라다. 드니 애기 치루 같이 치서기는 거기다 다도 로신야 돼. 가렌데야 대가로나. 당부 코란다 애라샤냐 미디 가렌 때는 용고도. 엔디나시 집어지지 않은 것도 표현하는 다 각하를 최전 조여로. 가가 최전 송고여로. 뒤집어지지 않다 코란스타나 인지도는 제외나. 아니 에너지 배샤 채널아 데이터는 당아서 나주 구하라고 있는다 이제 살로 데론로 가르치 신경이 와이나 대스 사망아서 되게 게이다 이거질 때는 가서 그 신조지 인바이나 근데 사마다 야 대로이나 토마기게 라디오들 돈을 걸었어 어디 지 차단하고 저러다 기신연세야 돼 소소비 진로도 차단하고 대가르스 되잖아 소소기지 메시지를 나와 가르치 신기는 truyền 지된 강신기 그 제아지 전로도 자기한테 드레스 지사 송샤나라.
So what we would like to emphasize here as part of the first two paragraphs is the word or term foundation, and as in the second paragraph the word foundation, or as mentioned by Geshe in the first or in the second paragraph, the word foundation is very significant. Here we can think about the grass, trees, rocks, the ground, the entire inheritance of the earth upon which we depend as our foundation of life. Likewise, the Guru who reveals the path is comparable to the earth, and it is he or she is that foundation of all good qualities. So when we think about the word foundation, another example or kind of a first-hand example or experiential example that many of us can use also that Geshe wanted to share is if you think about just secular education, when we first started going to school, preschool, kindergarten, if you think about how we are today, how we are sitting with each other reading this book now, how is it that we're here? How is it that we're able to read these words and paragraphs? And if you dig and go back and examine how that's possible, just the ability to read text and literature, you can take it back to learning the alphabet. So when it comes to the foundation, if you will, if we're bringing it back to that term, the foundation of the ability to read came from learning the alphabet. And it is that teacher specifically who gave us that platform through learning the alphabet that we're able to read. We're able to reflect and look back and understand how kind that teacher was. And so likewise, just as mentioned here in the text, the guru who reveals the air-free path is comparable to the earth in that he or she is the foundation of all good qualities. So the guru, which each and every small step from the beginning stages of practice up into the intermediate and so on and so forth, is the root of that. It is through the guru that we accumulate progress, or we experience progress, and we accumulate these qualities over practice and learning, but through the guidance, but the practice and learning that is through the guidance of the guru, just as we mentioned the example of going to school and learning how to read, starting with the teacher that taught us the alphabet. Insight can be had into the kindness of the guru or the teacher through thinking about someone who even just temporarily gives us a small gift or gives us a snack when we're hungry. Let's say a friend of ours or someone, an acquaintance, just happens to give us something in the form of a consumable. We gracefully and graciously accept it, and are very grateful for them extending their kindness and thinking of us, and helping us alleviate our hunger in the moment where we're experiencing such hunger and difficulty. If we're able to develop such appreciation for someone close to us who gives us something as simple as a snack, one can only imagine the appreciation and gratefulness that one would have and should have for one's guru or teacher, who not only brings relief through his guidance, his or her guidance, in temporary moments, or even just this life, but all future lives as well, through very skilled means in guiding and teaching one the Dharma. Further emphasis can be had on the kindness of the guru when being thought in that way. I'll yield the mic to to any of the attendees. I'm checking to see if there's any questions or anything that anyone would like to share. If there's nothing, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, after each part that we kind of pause at, I'll actually be more explicit and say that, okay, this is where we'll stop. But we'll stop there for just a moment in terms of the explanation and the reading, and yield the mic to you. If you have any questions or anything you would like to share, again, if you're on Zoom, go ahead and send it into the chat, and then if there's anything anyone would like to share who is here in person, in terms of questions or comments, please raise your hand and I'll pass around the mic. And so, yeah, I haven't received anything online in regards to these two paragraphs, and in person either. So we'll keep reading. Therefore, the kindness of the Guru is something far beyond the everyday kindness of ordinary people. So that was emphasized in what Geshe Tsultim just shared. The next line reads, cultivating, and then we can all read the paragraphs together. The next line reads, cultivating the Guru properly is the root of the path. We must cultivate our relationship with our Guru in a proper manner. When you go into the lam-rim text, you'll discover that it goes into great depth about the 8 great benefits of cultivating proper reliance on a Guru, and the 8 losses we suffer if we fail to properly cultivate our relationship with the Guru, or if there's a breach in the relationship. If you understand the benefits of cultivating this proper reliance, then the quality of your relationship with your Guru will be enhanced. If we are unable to analyze this deeply, we should at least pay attention to the first line and come to appreciate that any and all positive qualities in our life stem from the Guru, because it is the Guru who shows us the correct and unmistaken path to enlightenment.
단다 가서 조조도 최기 신이 되고로 최기 신이 조조도 상지살이야 triage 그런 게 최기 람지 된 거야. 람하는 와칸 템바데 그런 게 가래 송고요. 디송해야 되는 양 속이 되라 그래서다. 루바냐슬레네 디터가로 직 간토토기 되라 루바냐슬레 그런 간 송바데 가신 루야셔와 디루야다. 아니 그런래야 롱게시야 저랑 좀 모두치야 될 조신이 된 수세야 된데 질러시고요레스라.
So the paragraphs that we just covered emphasize explanation on the second line of the first verse, and that is cultivating the guru properly is the root of the path. And so, as mentioned here in the commentary, the cultivation or the means of cultivation are extremely important, and as explained in other lam-rim texts, there are great details about the 8 great benefits, and then in one of the lam-rim texts explicitly mentions 8 great benefits, and then of properly cultivating the guru, or the reliance on the guru, and then also explicitly mentions 8. Here it uses the word losses are used, and so I guess disadvantages, if you will, if we fail to properly cultivate the guru, or if there's a breach in the relationship. So it's important to understand that with any endeavor, there's a purpose, and there's a benefit to be had. There's a result that we're seeking, hence us pursuing it. And so when it comes to something as significant and transformative as spiritual practice, in progress on that path, it becomes absolutely critical and essential to rely on a guru. And when we use the word cultivate, what we're mainly trying to express is to generate and develop deep and real trust and a sense of comfort and openness in relying on the spiritual guide or the guru, and following his instructions through that trust. And now when we say instructions, obviously we're saying this we're mentioning this in the context of a spiritual practice in the Dharma, and so knowing that fully entrusting oneself in the guidance of the guru, one is able to maintain that trust, and then also have that trust and openness be one of the main conditions to forming that connection with the guru.
yang di 신이 된 수랑서 이체 제고를 나와 이체 제고를 될 롱게 제고를 쓰듯 전에 양 두스 랑 라마디 자와 많이 받은 주바던데 계시 송바이나 지난 라마마 된 하나 야고 다시 시에는 마송해 주고 여러 봐 이는 다 라마 된 사회절 라마디야 지금 자와 많이 받은 주바 배차셔나 어서 지금 게송는 것도 많이 요치 바이나 아니 게송는 것도 뭐 동계위 자와는 주고를 써야 되거든. 근데 더 나신 미자 인바이나 등가 좀 그 주공 수신기 동계위다 미기위 자와던 데를 주고 받아. 근데 랑가 로바던 하는 거다. Tene kunyao na kurangi karasa warata. Ta chawa shu manya bata nyekha yobe chawa dhawa tan tende ri mabu yorwa. Ako chwe don mutanbi chawa mabu yorwa. Tetsula jogu dhala na kurang kesi tende laba ina. Ane ji tsongkhapa shenpo kar song yorasi tetsana tila jogu mare song yorasi. Ane nga zu lama tsujin to tense kogi kaan songpa di nga zu nyegura sayate kogi kabi wii chui de chwe to tenbi chawa la kaan songpa di nyesi yorwa madobe. Di mayinbi tende la ya jogu kesi tende songyenda tende chongpa ina ten jogu ya yo mares. Ina yang nenga chi kargo warsan tende songu do samna kula telo chi chiyo mares. Telo chi ne susu chiyo chi ane kara toba nyanro ya tende yongu yores. Ti ko tangyung gana sha chen to sha yores.
What serves as a basis of confidence or the ability to be able to cultivate an individual as one's guru is through thorough and deep patient examination of whether or not this individual is qualified to be a guru. Once cultivated, though, just as we mentioned, it is fully entrusting. One is fully entrusting oneself into or under the guidance and care of the guru, and should and would listen to each and every word of advice and instructions that are passed on from the guru to oneself. If the circumstance or circumstances arise where the guru instructs one or advises one to do something that is against the path, or is immoral, or is against the practice, it's in these moments that one should use common sense and one's own analysis of what's being instructed of the guru, and before going into it, just out of sheer faith, there should be a thought process behind what's being instructed and what's being advised from the guru. And if the situation does arise where the guru, for example, tells one to break one's vows, or to engage in something that would break one's vows, or to do something that engage in an activity that goes against one's practice, or something that one knows in one's mind and through learning and practice that is incorrect or inaccurate, then one doesn't need to follow through with that particular advice or what was being shared by the guru there. But at the same time, once cultivated, if the guru is to, in a certain scenario, does share or instruct in a way that's not beneficial to oneself, instead of spiting the guru or becoming angered or disturbed by the guru or what was just said, one doesn't need to, instead of holding on to a negative feeling, one should approach it kind of neutrally. What was being said, kind of just leave it the way it is, rather than engaging in that actual action, or the other extreme of criticizing and holding a grudge against the guru for that particular instruction.
Lama Quran ine songgoya 맞아 라마도 라마 담시세야 돼 라마도 라마 닝가게 담시 송고고 그랬으라 배나 라마디 답치 마이나 아니 나슈랑 토네 라마디나 제 라마데 잘레 라마들 파 취해야 돼 그런 수수기 진지 대행이 계기 아주 지 개성지여라 원든지를 미유 송천이네 그런 취해 주고요 말이스 취해반이 취대 취해 양다바 차가 말이스 제가 텐데인 두산이 가서기 댄사 칼레인다 가서 표준 나한테 남아 세된도 남아 세된이 남아 세된도 저 가르치시면 최셔보다 라자래 로수죠라 데 궁금하게 나가서 부지겐도 댄사 칼레다 기겐 뭐여로 그래서 사마래야 내가 원치는 근데 라자던데 내가 그 로수초네 말던데 계속 내가 차샤네 데 호지고 말아 데 내가 됐던데 도요라스.
So when it comes to cultivating the guru and maintaining a proper guru and disciple relationship, both not only the student or disciple, but also the teacher has to maintain the rules and moral ethics involved in the characteristics of being a disciple. And then the guru, as mentioned earlier in the introduction, and we did cover this, I believe, the first session, which was a couple weeks ago, out of the 10 characteristics of the guru, or the 10 qualities of the guru, one of them is directly associated with the guru engaging in guidance and teaching the student or the disciple void of any self-interest. And so, for example, if the guru has it in his mind that, yeah, I'll teach and I'll guide this individual because I'll get something in return, or I'll be paid in return, or be rewarded in return, that's a wrong motivation, and any instruction either shared or carried out afterwards wouldn't bear much benefit. And it is therefore, if you look at, or a clear example of why there isn't a transactional kind of, or example of a non-transactional kind of relationship between guru and student can be seen through the example of the students, the teacher and the students at the monasteries, where the students they request and they go to the teacher teaches them in multiple groups and multiple classes throughout the day, and it's very much almost a default coming and going rather than, or the guru receiving some kind of compensation for teaching or any of that. So basically, when it comes to the guru and the disciple, both have their sets of rules and rules and regulations, if you will, moral ethic and discipline to follow as well.
치기다 자말리 카이바이나 로다카게 로다기겐 또 로마이마이나 톨롭탄 사와다 데젤 안에 지원심바 장마도베 안지기겐 그투긴 도시도 때정아서 댄사나신 디용문도 더 댄사도 인바이나 기겐 그투기 도시도 때베트 파마도 보고 도시리죠 사바단 데 베트 파스 디쇼르바단 도시 베스모 도시요라스 도시요야데 참마 카르렐라 데산에 지템빈 도시 참마인바 쯔와랑 토네 아니 지기겐 그 라마디기 데바랑지 라마디기 마 최기겐디 마 최셔야데 그런 게 그벤 참마인바 아니 그벤 마인 따와마인바 그런 게 아니 라마랑한테 쯔위 토네 정고여와 인상 기겐 그투긴 도시 데스베트 쇼지 사고 도시요라스.
So if we compare kind of a conventional teacher-student relationship versus the relationship of guru and disciple, or spiritual guru and disciple, they're completely different. There is a deep faith and trust, as previously mentioned, that serves as a basis for the relationship between guru and disciple. And again, there's no self-interest involved. And it takes a connection, the connection between two individuals, a step further through that trust and through that faith in the guidance of the guru on the path, the long-term, the deep and vast path of spiritual progress. And so it's important to differentiate the two. Otherwise one might ask, well, we're using the term teacher. How is that different from a teacher that I see every day in school or in conventional school? It's very much different, and that's what we would like to emphasize between these kinds of relationships.
Yes. 다 신년 된수 최전 좀 소소기 줄라 신년 된수 도바도 제와네 존데 신이 다 소소 줄라서 최기 도바 지어라 어딘 곳 주고요 더 송고요레스 다 되는 존데 소소기 신줄은 주원로요 소소냥 용토네 하고야 소 신티마 녀모도 좀 가리는 지 시원로야 심바디 니르니르 지르지르로야 안에 도바 가르치 제와이네 제대오당 다네 지 신주 가리나 시대오 안에 심발을 차야 어디서 참 안에 대바도 단세도 대바도서야 페르야 그 상황거든이 주요레스.
So as mentioned, and as emphasized in the paragraphs that we've gone through so far, any realizations or progress, or spiritual progress that is had starts from the practice and the flourishing, if you will, of the cultivation of the guru. If one abides properly and carefully and wholeheartedly in cultivating the guru, every other spiritual benefit and a realization and so on and so forth is had starting from that first step, or that first building block, if you will. So that's very much the key point that we're covering in these paragraphs of commentary.
다시도 전다 주 가르쳐와 있는 소소기 되지 신주래야 팽그도 삼상 전에 용어 말이나 단도 원의 자도 양주 신의 단수거나 로장하디 개침시고 차고요레스 신의 단수가 로야고 장마도 대체 전부 다 지마무지 장마도 마무시 제바이네 팽 된대기지 소소줄로 도바 제송 상상이 양용용야다 된대기지 소소 신주랑 원의 장이 최대기 신주를 팽도 상상이 양용용야 가르고 싶다레스.
So if one feels that despite one's best efforts in spiritual practice, not much progress is being made, it's encouraged that one looks at how one is cultivating the guru, or the relationship that one has with the guru, or the trust in the guidance of the guru. That should always be examined again. Again, if this first step, or foundation, if you will, this basis, if it's not stable, if it's not proper, then no matter how hard and how long one strives on the path or in one's practice, the benefits are minimal. So if one starts to feel that one hasn't made much progress and is feeling stuck or frustrated, it's encouraged and always good to look back and examine how the cultivation of one's guru, where that is, and how close and how deep that is in one's mind.
다 신예 된 속에 또 봐라고 간데스 지구어스 됐잖다. 저도 때가 저 랑기 신예 속 때바인 디상지던 체벌 매빈 도시 신타 장마 제토이니만에 안에 지신예 된 속에 또 봐. 제토야 된 레스. 데메비용 가시기 있으나 신예 랑기 신예 디다 상지 손 도시 샤워레 마도야 상지 응어레 라지오 마르세아데 게제트데 요레 데즈 다다디가 마르스 데 rang singon da rang sin tha che ne da ko sanji dong ya me silai jo ba sanji dong ji rang sanji gun do shi sha ya sin so sin na lo ta chi do re sam sam ge sin tha che to ni ma ne ne su su ju da shin ye den se to ba de ne je yong yo re de ji cha ba je la de ne su su ju ga re chi che ba yin ji nyang do ji la wa de ne yong ya res
so again the benefits in terms of spiritual progress, one's own peace and happiness, any benefits to body and mind through spiritual practice are only had, or really truly had, when one's cultivation or practice of cultivating the guru is proper and stable. And when one is able to fully and completely trust and open oneself to the guru, to the point where one sees the guru as inseparable from the Buddha or as the Buddha himself, it is from that moment that the experience and realization through the practice of cultivating one's guru is had, and anything that comes after or succeeds that experience is will be the benefit at its maximum. If or when that's not very strong, again, as mentioned before, the benefits are minimal.
대당 아주 참으로 된 찬스기랬어. 아주 라마 마차치 당 아주 더더 진제여라다 고시라 주요보다 가르쳐 나주요 바차주요 아주 더더 진제기 되잖아. 다 산지기 연대만 오시오지 송어 때 되잖아. 당 아주 라마티 산지 가르쳐 차기는 스테레도 바스 사시그랬대. 아니 고 아주기 아주 개와 매와라테 체도스라 개와 매와주이다. 제약이 체도 아주 더우지 마 배랑 배레스. 제가 때인데 아주 소소기 주지 녀모 도송 고 주디 가제 다와 지삼 다와 데 세지다 라면 연대인데 치르 통야 들리 차고요라마도 아니 라면 그런 거네 산지 동 야면바 도스 차고요레스 제가 때인데 라마티 마수이마 마수 더우지나마 트윈이 도스 페고요다 산지랑 가르송에서 마오 힘이 뒤서는 안에 제비소스 찬스 네 마오 힘이 뒤서는 안에 루뱅소스 찬스 산지랑 또 나나나 근데 송요레스 ane kongazu temo changya nalala da chi tupa dhanji tengido adi chiba tam ba changya da tsina temo dhanji nalala dolu mara jivu jana miji inba inti mara peong di nangshanchi marangsu chik nje yagi chedo marangsu kewa dan nyambi dosi chiba chi chanchi dosi pechen zeba dosi tsego yores chezan di indi tashi do di sanji dong yame dosi chene cheba ina ane di iche rabu di susu jula ya 냥용 로 레온데 데고 시엔더리 바 데모와 지수수 냥용 레라 다 tombo도 갈레요라 유니스 바체바이나
so when seeing or receiving the guru as inseparable from the Buddha or as the Buddha himself, it's a step further from just telling oneself or intentionally just saying, oh, just, for now, just see him or just try your best to see him as a Buddha. It's actually, on the contrary, it's actually wholeheartedly, without any holding back and without any doubt, accepting one's guru as the Buddha himself. that is required, and that is the serves as the entire and full building block to further spiritual realizations. If one, just because one's guru appears in an ordinary form, just like oneself, one shouldn't use that as an excuse to see one's guru on the same level as oneself, or to kind of belittle the presence of the guru. One might ask, oh, well, if he's so great, or if he is the actual Buddha, why does he look just like me? He's even shorter than me, or he's even older than me, or whatnot. He's just like me, he's ordinary. And one might ask, well, why does he look like that then? The answer to that is, if he didn't manifest or emanate in a similar form, we wouldn't have access to him. He or she wouldn't be accessible to someone as ordinary and as a beginner, on a level of a beginner like ourselves. So it is out of kindness and compassion for us that this ordinary appearance has manifested. And when it comes to the guru and their appearance, is meant to be understood as an emanation of one of the many forms, or one of the emanations of the many different forms or manifestations of the Buddhas themselves. And we're only capable of interacting with and having access to someone in a similar form, and so hence this emanation and manifestation of the Buddhas themselves have come in the form of ordinary beings. And so it's important to slowly, over time, in much not only analysis, examination, building of trust, that one should engage in the practice, but it's also an essential step to any further spiritual progress or realization.
Still that ribachi suyores tangazo chokeling ejin sanji gi ngsu sinjeng tönze gi hasiware ta sinjeng tönze ya de chösong ya de indu san dang anazol chösong ya des dinalo la sanji ingo yinghe ji yogo gore ma to jen sanji ngsu sinjeng tönze as jenze as ke ma ta jin ta zo ro ta chidan san sanji gi sinjeng tönze ya de zeba ma ra ma song ro ta sambala su chu ba ma song ro ti na ne ja zo sinjeng tönze ya de chösong ya de当아주 최선의 되나로다 지 산지 주바요와 다 제버레스 지단은 아주 기신의 라마쇼도 남쇼도 마부지 송여라 이네 계시 람쇼 아주 기신의 논도다 라마쇼도 근데 계시 여비원도 다나 띵 아주 산지인 삼네 타제는 아주 이 대바체와이나 티 산지 응외인 받던 폐 집어지장 중에 받던 송여레스.
So when we talk about the different types of ways and means that the Buddhas serve sentient beings and benefit sentient beings, one of them is emanating and manifesting as an ordinary being, again, so that we're able to interact and have direct access to the guidance of the Buddhas. And when we talk about certain individuals and their different levels of realizations or practice or understanding or academic qualifications, both academic or spiritual qualifications in terms of practice. Some, we make these distinctions between some being very high on a certain path and some being kind of on a lower level. But if one, outside of these kind of conventional labels or conventional ways of looking at it, even if one develops faith in supposed an individual that is kind of on a lower level, that same faith, that type of faith, or that faith in that individual, is just as great as, or that faith is just as great as direct faith in the Buddhas themselves.
그래서 대인도 아주 최기 토는 아주 럭케 당아주의 선대에 되어 있는 지침에 되어 있는 아주 다 다도 상지 고관 되어 있는 다 최기 토는 아주 럭케 랭고고요나 그러 안에 디 망시도디 신의 단수고를 답고라 마못 잡네 양시양시 니치 디고를 차베 마모요래 람린다도 숨도장스마 야월로 근데 디 토는 망시도 야고지 샤마 토는 아주 캄바를 지대면 캄바자와도 쳐보면 차송을 했어 캄바 지대야 오만한 대강을 지자가 쳤는데 그 때모여 말아 니마지 롱으로 제가 때나지 캄바 있는 캄바 지대야고 지자에는 디강을 다 걸리걸리전 캄바 수지자예요 대집받지장 만으로서 나주 돈 수술 개변도 수수기 쓴디 되지 있는 다 가래 있는 다 나주 돈에 오냐네 야고 지야던 타마도 지 상지 고방만 도지바도 대연된 탄주기 시자로데 신의 단수고 차대와 인상 되고라 안다나니네 된슈고에 되는 인스.
So the main reason why we're emphasizing this from different aspects in using different examples, and we have another example for you in just a moment, but the reason why we're doing so is because, again, going back to the term foundation, and this serves as the foundation for all kinds of, for any kind of spiritual progress or pursuit or practice, and so this must be as stable as possible, or the cultivation of a guru must be as stable as possible. And the example, another example that we bring up here is needing, if one is to build a multi-story building, one needs the foundational portion of the building to be very sound. Otherwise, the building, the floors on top wouldn't be, and eventually there would be damage and maybe even a collapse of the building itself. So likewise, if one uses that example as a reflection of one's spiritual practice, one needs that foundation, a stable foundation, in order to build the rest of the practice, and that foundation is the cultivation, the proper cultivation of the guru. So we'll pause there in terms of the reading and the emphasis. If anyone has any questions, I do see one here online after I read this one, and then we go through an answer of it. Please feel free to share anything you like. So the question is the term guru being used in the sense of a teacher? For example, if I have one teacher teaching me text and another one teaching me meditation, is it considered that I have two gurus then? What the two of the question?
Yes.
Ne lama shumi sharwas.
Yes.
Lama shui tsigdi. Ani chi gigen rang. Chi so sulam yech. Right?
Yes.
Or the nish kind of chi kowa the nish reverse. There is shashanas. Ani gigen chingala yigilap. Right? Ani chikya gigen. Shanda chi kom lam yen shina.
Yes.
아니 this is when ngala lama ni chagyor bes.
Nas ta lama maboye chura. Lama maboye chura. Ta naju ngazo lama de lama chube 초신. 다 초신 스스스 그냥에 가가지 되잖아. ngazo 최기 냥에 제당 배치잖아. lama chube 초신다 냥에 제 가서 lama chube 냥에 제 되잖아. lama chube 초신 나신 지는 공야로 봐. 수수 자위 lama 되게 제 아니 디마인비 수수기다 lama 마보여 chura. 다 그런 lama 마보여 chura. 이내 자위 lama 라이트 지 시고요로. 자위 lama 세트 지 저도 소소되지 왕 롱다 아니면 하던 아니 그제 로바 라수바 도마 라수바 도스 나냥이 자위라마다 도드니 셰바나 소소기 심나로라야 펜추슈 자치슈도 소소 타니슈 신다니슈 라마티 자위라마 제체 안티 마이베 라마다 사마 소소기 고르 제추고 그랬어 라마를 인추고 그랬어.
So to answer this question, yes, the guru can be understood in the sense of the guru being a teacher, and in this case, the example that was given, where one teacher is teaching the text and another is teaching meditation. Yes, it's very possible to have more than one teacher. Actually, multiple lamas and multiple gurus or multiple teachers can and are motivated by practitioners. If we use sometimes the example of the merit field, where in the middle, in the center, one visualizes one's root guru, and then the other gurus, one's other gurus on the left and right of oneself. And so yes, one may have definitely more than one guru. In terms of guru, there is a distinction between root guru and guru. Root guru is the one that is that particular guru or teacher that one is feels closest with, one that one has received most instructions from, has shared the most with, the guru that one relies on the most. So that can be understood as a root guru. But yes, to answer your question, yes, there could be, yes, in this scenario you would have, if the teacher teaching the text was one guru, and then you had a separate one teaching you meditation, in this case you would have two gurus. Yes, it's very possible to have more than one guru.
근데 계시 총보이나 로정베린 바트카도라 소소기 페치션 단다 인지 돈에 난 취도 들으냐네 제가 돈에 징에 징이 바이나 타나 ABCD 라죠 예체네 소소기 지금 기신행 도시를 소샤친 도스콘토 바이나 소소기 페요레스 배나가서 지루컴바 라이나 공기 담보 아니 지 주연양네 제대선에 아니 신예기 땐수 도바 주름 지주로 맞게 되네 타마들라 공기디 코로나 까칼랑이 안에 로조 주여서 공기 코디 코로나기다 라마 댄수에 나오는데야 코로나 라마나 콘도야 소신나 마공인서 봐 제가 대마공도 있었는데 전도 받지로 맞게 제일 딱 라마마부 고여를 때때 도바마치에 됐습니다. 아마 질하송나다 그 까칼랑이 정말로 안에 로조 라송인서 안티야 공용도 있었는데 도바 여보시는 제와 어떤 데 나타르들어요레스 전다 코나서 집어라 다 인지 야불로신 거 같이 인지 돈단 나주기 유종는 안에 지기는 고대 인지랑에 그게 라서부터 지고 대 신이 된수 나오죠 기초고요.
So in the context of having multiple teachers and lamas or gurus, one can go quite far in the scope of, like we did earlier, thinking back to from the very beginning, who was it that taught us the alphabet? Who was it that taught us to read? Each and every individual that helped us come to or engage eventually in the path, no matter what role it was that they played, they can also be considered amongst the line or the multiple lists of one's teachers or gurus. And there is a mention in the text of
지루컴바.
So I wish I had the actual a different translation for this, but I'm just going to go with the one in Tibetan. And so the individual's name is, this practitioner's name is Jurokamba, and he's mentioned in the text. And the story involving this individual was that he had diligently practiced over a long period of time, but despite that, still did not experience any strong realizations. And after a while, after examination, he realized that he forgot to include the teacher that taught him the basic alphabet. And it was because of this that he wasn't able to progress. But after, and despite this individual, this teacher, this first teacher that taught him the alphabet being someone that who was ordained and then later on disrobed, this person, this individual was still meant to be considered his along the list of his gurus, and so after examination and after realizing that he forgot to include this teacher in his visualization and meditation on relying on the guru, he included them and then was able to further progress in his practice. So what can be learned here is that from the very beginning, even the small things, even the quote-unquote simple things that are taught, that leads to where one is now. Anyone that helped or anyone that taught one or added to the building blocks of one's practice can be considered in the list of one's teachers or gurus.
Tami mini la chashaba inarwa loji drobo changmo che jiji la patsu rupa yamo che ta loji ki tamade la nima che kunye tsizo rawa shoba ina chuzo kama chi nanglo la kunye dra cha chen dene lo tan lo ke chama shiwa tanda chana go re tezu sama mei rigi samlo tang chik docho gi samlo tang do trawa ta pacha ngenpa yubi wan dos china kanyi go re jengo ne chaba ina loji ki kadrende chuzo ga shi nanglo la ta dra cha rwa te ngone chene yoma sewa chira kunye tsu dobe na te nangshen lami yunden mamu shio chi jaso tabo yoba chasha na nga suki chuan chi ni chi ton te samlo tang de dewa ina te susu ki chile yunden cheya te su chuan keba shio chi yoba res chila te yunden lami yunden dayat ke chamo res.
So what's most essential is to accept and to focus on the qualities of the teacher and practice cultivating faith and trust and belief in the teacher. There may be certain moments where certain aspects or the guru displays or presents certain aspects of having flaws or saying something wrong or doing something wrong. But if we're to compare those one or two moments to the greater scope of his qualities, we're able to remind ourselves of the value and the kindness of his guidance, and we should always be mindful to maintain that faith and that belief, irrespective of one or two moments that may occur. In our daily lives, we have friends, family, and close ones, and sometimes even between friends and family, despite everything that all the joyous moments, all the great moments, and everything that we've gone through together, one day, an argument starts and something is mistakenly said, and within a day, you start becoming angry at each other and stop speaking to each other, and start holding grudges against each other, and in some cases don't speak to each other, look at each other for years and years on end. In moments like that, we should remember the greater picture and the grander scheme of our lives, and remember how significant this person was in our experience, in our lives, and how kind they were, despite this one small incident. And so likewise, when it comes to cultivating the Guru and seeing the Guru in the most positive and pure way, and pure light, it's important to always understand that his qualities will outweigh his one or two small moments where he presents flaw-like or fault-like aspects.
Yes. 대화나 신당아주 아주 밀 지우지고고는 기신의 잠체고요 말스 기신의 도랑 추로도 랑기다 나미 로바다 가르치니 바인데 상황 거기 간전다 거기 된장장의 상담 바인 수수 지우 차에 뭐 땡게 말스 아주기 남도도 강에다 요야도 상황 가르쳐야 될수 있어. 쟁기 전장장 동데네 수수 맞이고서 되고요. 제가 당아서 간 토토기 가서 대신에 된 수고 로장이나 당아서 로장을 받나면 단어장이 뜻게 좀 차대요. 제가 랑이 니코도 가르치요만 기신이나 랑이 니코 가르치요만 된속이 유연데 가두이는 신의 유연된 가든디 양스양스테 되네 랑이 주연데 가두이네 랑이 주연데 랑이 조주 당이 시험이나 하는 것을 지와 치만다 치만 이다이 마세베 쓴들레이네 하르담문라위 수술을 되지지 노용외버데 아니 수수수 갈라오다 와 로단다와 같이 제와인 수순이 아니면 신토야 지레스.
So this is something that one can practice and make a stronger point to practice in terms of how we view other individuals, whether this be our teachers or gurus, our parents, friends and families, so on and so forth. If we can make it a point to always focus on their kindness and the good things that they do for us and their qualities, rather than focus on their flaws, not only does that help us maintain a kind and open perception of them, but it also brings us a peace of mind and joy as well. And so if we're able to focus on the qualities of others, and then at the same time be mindful of our own flaws, with time and practice, one may experience a huge change and transformation of one's everyday experience and everyday practice. Okay. One more question online reads, how do you relate to a guru if both of you are working on a non-dharmic activity such as event planning or cooking? Is it acceptable to disagree or argue with your guru on non-dharmic subjects?
Yes.
아니 Lama Tsongkhapa.
Yes.
아니 직대행이 자와 된지 시간을 야스. 그래서 자와 배워 시간을 야. 냠도 내가 레드 거를 심어 이나서. 또 그냥 네가 칼라서 되어 차샤로다.
네.
야만아 직 지림 자리로 지쳐 차샤스다.
맞았어.
어딘데 가는 야지. 지단 샤르바. 대한테 쓰고 이나스. 아니 배는 칼라서 되어 거를 심어 이나. 아니 직 삼도한테 용어를 받아. 밑에 말지. 죽사가 밑에 말을 용어를 삼로시.
라마 차라벌이 저거.
제가 사자고 있으면 사실 저기 좀 말하는 밑에 뭐든지 차소나. 아니 되게 선발이야 직. 아니 파 쇼추고이나 야. 직 컨디너스. 야 밑에 다다 맞추나. 아니 니가 버지 라로 니가 버리면 된지 샤워 시간에 이마이나. 내가 아니 간지 찍고 있는 간지 쉬고 있었어. 야 지금 쉬고 있었어.
나스티 지단 쉬주거래. 쉬주거래서 다 지단디 수수기 따지 댄스체 토모토라라이그라다. 베드모토와이나나 제스 카메라마도 제 오늘 채나 가서 신예 댄스들 삼아 고이군 신예 댄스들 송은 베나 본잠바다위 신예 댄스 송은 본잠바다위 신예 댄스 해야 되는데 가르스드잖아. 본잠바스드잖아. 부디 빠와라베 그 쇼지 코가 라한다고 참아 빠와라 대체는 빠와카 라바이나 디 다치제 바킬네 chen 고 지쿠 수수도 버쳐는 맞아 제 빠바카는데 바로 땡chen 로딩에 될 본잠바다 시고라다 본잠바세야 되는데 서버 제가 다 본잠바다위 신 세야 되신야 된 주기 상로데 단도잖아 또 게신야 되게 또 가리 요에는 디유정한테 손토와이나 어디 다 된다야 지래 이나다 디 칼라노스 칼로다 지기 가르스고를 조를 내고요 받았는데 다치 타긴 하는 시에도로 자마이 발시고 받았는데 지다 칼라를 내고요 받았는데 기어나 수수파 쉬고 있는 거라서
So yes, it's acceptable to within memo master then you said in the sort of shosana. Tajinga masala jawna masam chunjin so that this ke shabur shasuna. Yanchik
다들 저 쇼야 메라다 라마철 쇼야 메라다 고 라마 공부 가르쳐 있는데 제를 딱고 스케시 수수기 칼라데 쳤는데 라초면데 칼라 셔마지잖아리라 다 지나된다 신용 걸시고라 다 된다 참고간 레바이나 딱고 쉬야요로 다 쉬주고래 쉬도 쉬주고래 이나다 라마 공부 총로고 받는데 이나 수수기 다지 정말 지된 자라다
so it's acceptable to share one's thoughts, even if they happen to not align with one's guru, particularly if it's in the concept. I mean, the context for now is in a worldly activity or an ordinary activity like cooking or event planning, and it's of course okay to share one's thoughts and one's feelings. One of the other words that comes up in the question is it acceptable to argue? Probably not. One wouldn't want to engage or to start an actual argument, or let alone a heated argument with one's guru. And so if you're in a scenario or a situation where, let's say, you're cooking and the guru is insistent on a particular ingredient when you're not, it's better to avoid conflict or friction by kind of pulling away and following through with what the guru is insistent on. But in terms of just sharing one's thoughts, of course, that's something that one is completely acceptable and completely fine to do.
지단 라로 세den지 뭐 근데 용무시버도 지르바다 라마도 라마 근데 저셔딩 다 바지 세den지는 냐는 세den 뭐 있지는 로 라마이나 라마 냐는 오마야고 챙이지도 라마이나 라마 세den지나네 라로니 근데 전다 춘춘로 제쇼 무시버도 그랬어.
So a scenario like this would actually be quite rare if the guru and the disciple are properly following the proper discipline within their roles as guru and disciple, and if they are actual like qualified practitioners, and the cultivation of guru is pure and stable, you wouldn't. It's very unlikely that one would run into a scenario where, let's say, you were cooking together and there was, a disagreement or something that caused friction or conflict. But generally speaking, yes, in a moment where you're working and things like that, of course, it's completely okay to share your mind. Generally speaking, when it comes to the different ways of cultivating a guru or relying on a guru, one of them, I'm having trouble so it can be understood or translated as
po kanye na de la shan de go tra chidan zamba la de ngan su ti mi shika sambu shu de che po pe or pamal shu ta tan chi shi shika sambu se de na zamba se
So it can be translated or understood as relying on the guru as if one is an obedient child or an obedient and attentive child, or one that is of a child of good nature, a good-natured, obedient child, if you will. And this would involve completely surrendering oneself up to the guru and listening to whatever the guru says, and taking every word seriously, and just going by whatever it is that the guru explicitly mentions, word for word. However, this is one of the ways. But if we bring it back to again an unlikely scenario of engaging in a non-dharmic activity, which is what's being asked here, yes, it's completely fine to express one's thoughts and feelings, even if they don't align with that of the guru. But if it causes conflict and friction, then it's always best to pull back, to draw back, and avoid anything like an argument, and just follow through with the assistance or the preferences of the guru. So one last question here. The question is, in the situation of differing opinions or teachings from multiple gurus, what would one examine to know who to follow? Tona Lama Mangwo yo shasharwa. Tona Lama chigi the nigada chigi lam da ali sungje de na shasha. To korani parla ya sungdang gyanda juguduna. Tanda khashi jugu ba. Chig res chig maris ki sungma shasha. Ani ti ta ani res sungin de wala jugu ye. Mare sungin de kana jugu ye. Ti kharila taji chine.
Susu lo dang tsame la daji chawar, ta de nga zo derwa, pecha na nga zo densa tawa ina, icha Quran na lo pecha na GSTDL tsam tsisin ma tang pa tawa, tanda tsam yungur ba, chenza tanda yungdu tsane nga zo ki tso tawa chi susu ki daji chi na lo la kare po, ta tawa na tanda ki chenpo kwan tanda liang da siwara da, chenza tanda nga zo susu lo la kare tsam pa tanga, kare lo la pa pa do 다친 디가나 데 제션을 리고레스 로레스 나주르바.
So for this question, one would examine one would examine through one's common sense and own experience and understanding, and see which one is more suitable, and which one fits one's disposition better, and that would be something that would help one guides one's decision and which instruction to follow if they were to contradict each other between multiple gurus.
안 수술로던 자야로 다 들으면와지 다 지로 코노여와지 지로 코노 매봐야 다 코노 아주 배쳐셔는 아주 남아 상지비 취해도 가르치고 그래서 저로 다 다나가서 배주 나다 인도 전에 배지케비숑 다 되네야 또 원은 자숑 되네야 또 원은 상지기 송체 도스체네야 돌롱에 콘도 치는데 자댕글 농참아 돈 도구고요 그래서 다 인걸 농참아 말아말아야 나는 다 수술로 가르쳐왔대 제야로.
So actually before that, one can actually use a certain aspect of logic to decide which instruction to follow, and that would be by examining and analyzing which viewpoint between the two is backed by reasoning, is backed by quotational text, is backed by experiential practice and learning, and one can use that as kind of the compass to decide and to better understand which one makes more sense, or which one is actually true, or which one is more of a qualified view. If they both happen to be backed by reference in the text and logic, then one can engage in seeing which one is more applicable to oneself, which one's more preferable to one's disposition.
Yes. That. What's that?
So those are the questions that we have online. Would anyone here, or does anyone here have anything they would like to share or to ask? Can I pass this mic to you, Joseph? Thank you.
So it's still somehow unclear how this cultivation of the Guru is the foundation for everything, right? For example, even the example you gave of this one practitioner who didn't regard his teacher who taught him the alphabet as his guru. How would that disrupt? How would that how would that disrupt his sort of like realizations or his progress in meditation?
세우랑 차이면 됐어. 이게 군기 시 차이거든. 그래서 저거 스페르 셔션도 이게 페시하러. 다게 센지셔. 린소인데 나게 가갈람이 되냐도 소신을 먹은데. 그래. 그게 또 그게 말세셔. 근데 아니 간주스 듣게 간주스 침을서. 다디 그나 코코님도 맞지 벌었대네. 수수 지금 중대 맡으셔.
그래.
듣게 간주스
티첸도 세워라. 거기다 배제따라다 배이 더 거기다 기가가다는 그 배이 있다는 거기 배제셔나 단난축이 고아지라요. 그 고아라야도 어디 마 시주체가도 와 있는 그 담보 배이 로싱 것도 같이 가는 거 좀 그래. 거기 배이 송주 위견자의 송주 년에 코로나로 송주 그 고아라버티 가을 두고 해서래. 그 얘기 못 줬었대. 가갈 당해야 될 때는 그 지만데 신거로
So it's important to look at each and every cause and condition that led to where one is now. And one can kind of look at it in almost like a chronological order, if you will, where let's say it was from, let's say for example, through reading a particular excerpt of a text, one suddenly gains an understanding or experience or realization. If one, let's say, in that example, obviously the teacher explaining it, the teacher, guiding through this particular concept of the text, but then also it takes one's own effort in reading and following through with practice. And so if this, let's say, that condition, or one of the causes being having read from the text, the causes of this result, of this beneficial result, came from reading the text, then how was it that one was able to read the text? And if you keep taking it down, it will have come from someone having taught you your alphabet first, and that serving as a basis to being able to read and write and comprehend what it is that you're reading. And so kind of if you keep digging kind of through the layers of the causes and conditions that brought about certain results, you can see the connection there. And so maybe in the example earlier, how when he forgot to include the teacher that taught him the alphabet in his list of gurus in his mind, and how that became an obstacle to his realization, it is because there was a direct connection between him learning the alphabet and that leading to being able to read, and that leading to being able to read the text, and then that leading to being able to analyze the text and then receive teachings on it, and so on and so forth, and different causes and conditions that brought him to that moment of realization. So if you kind of take it down to the very basis of growth in any way, particularly in your knowledge, and then obviously in the context of spiritual practice, that's kind of what's being emphasized there. Was that any more clear?
Well, it's just that when it was relating to this person's progress in meditation, realizations, that's just like very general, right? Very general. So, like, I don't know if there was like an example of like which specific meditation he was doing or practice, and how, not regarding this person as a guru, how that hindered that specifically.
Like that specific condition that.
And then general is like it's still unclear how in general, right? Maybe it would be more clear if it was something more specific, but somehow in general it's still unclear.
And then are we still talking in the context of this example here, or are we talking about outside of this example?
In that example, or in any example really, how in general it would hinder.
I see.
It was said that if you don't see the way you explained it was that if somebody doesn't see the guru as a Buddha, then the progress will be minimal. So there will be no progress, basically. That's what you said.
Right.
So this is the general case. This is one specific example. How is it that if you need to see the guru as a Buddha in order to make progress? So, right? He said that if you don't see the guru as a Buddha, there is no progress.
Some progress.
Minimal. Basically, the idea is no progress.
If we're saying like the peak is a level 10, from 1 to 10, it probably wouldn't be level 10. Let's say that would be like the peak of the spiritual experience, or the practice, or the progress, or the realization, if you will. Let's say the max or the peak of that kind of that perfection of the practice.
Well, but Bongka Rinpoche says no progress. He doesn't say 3, 4. But Bongka Rinpoche says there will be no progress. You cannot develop any realization if you don't see the guru as a Buddha. So that would be the general case. So that's one example that you gave, Joseph. But in general, that would be the same question. Why is it necessary to see the Buddha, the guru as a Buddha, in order to make any sort of progress?
Okay, I feel these are two separate questions. Let me.
No, no. This is the general case. He's asking about specific.
Is that
right? Does that make sense?
Is this the same? Is the same question, or?
I would say that's the general. Why do you need to see the guru as a Buddha?
Let's just finish up. Yes, absolutely.
I think that's the general case.
Yes. Was that another? Was that the kind of the same question you were asking, Joseph?
What does it mean by making progress, or what does it mean to gain realizations? So to make any progress at all, as supposedly both refuge states.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know.
Tadi ani lama ani sangine mo yeme ta sangi su matana ani to bo khayan ke yemar ani chi yage taji de joju me wat ni sungsha sarwa namre la jan sungmero phobo goro bijala sa ani taji de chune joju me ta ngai ale this is the secret sajem ba this sita some koran yum me this level le jo koran pe chune misibres
tuba chigmar song ra
khayan ki mares
right
tadi ani di jotan khandres sangi su matana 아니 답지 저 카가로 샤르스 다게 그런 지라 할때 그 어디 베길렌 디 총을 되게 설프지
라 라마 상지 소마타나 아니
또 보니 기기 말했어요 아니 디 조상 한데스
노탄 칸데스라
아니 페제트 저 그런 되게 칼라브라 아니 그런 기 아니 페기 카갈람이 티 기겐티 아니 냠도 페기 소주는 먹으면 되는 말라
네네
아니 디 총이 말싸로
right
또 총이 말싸로
네네
어디 군지 테스트 저기 비키지 좀 저거 조단으로 쇼로
레레데
이제 컵도 괜찮다는 쇼로 저거 가르쳐 쇼로 상계수 마다는 가지는 또 이렇게 뭐가 가지 벌써 아니 공부했던 소신 하나니 가가려면 인연도 맞지 않나 아니 계획 재단으로 어디 가르쳤어요 쇼로
See, he failed to see that teacher as a Buddha. That's the point.
Yeah,
It's a specific example.
Yeah.
But the general case is when he failed, because if you include it in the refuge tree, that means that implies that you see him as a Buddha. That's the problem. Why is that the foundation? Why is it so important?
네. 다디 디차고요라. 저스당아서 내가 지디 차고라다. 랑기 라마디 상지소 마다와이나 가르치고 만도스디 있잖아요. 완전히 단다. 천내 참주 천내 탄주 상지기 리인송이었다. 아주 천내서 줘라. 아주 기와 탄주 상지기 천내 있나요? 다 도스 채널에 용세어들한테 통하더라. 다 라마 상지소 마다와이나 지우 말을라야 아주 줄을 기와지 치고 기와도 참마가를 상지기 천내 인세었다. 상지기 틀레도 니샤래 유지 틀레도 안에 상지기 그런 줄 나가 주에 된지 동안 좀 아주 늦게 줄을 마 틀레지 니샤로 그래서 대체도 잔다 아주 줄 상지기 틀레든 조고를 상지기 틀레든 조와라 랑 라마데 상지서 따네 람 상지기 틀레데 당 아주 아주 총고 말다 도도로들다 라 아주 틀레기 전에까지 상지기 나가 주에 되는 종족이 진교와 샤고 거로 그래서 대체된 완전 교환 해지 인쇄 참아 상지가 틀려 있어요. 그래서 대인도 잔다 랑 라마데 상지서 마다나 상지가 틀려도 수술을 주고요 말하다. 다른 라마데 상지서 따와이나 다네 수술이 대바당시티 좀와이나 아니 수술이 다 내용거라 다 가르쳐. 또 받았어. 평화야 내용거라. 그래서 대체도 잔다 도도로도 가전인데 텐션 오거라 나와다. 수수줄 또버치 제견디야 충고 간 도서지 고고로 어디서 상황 고고로 당아서 도서 상황때 토들 단다 배셔나 가르사 단다 좀마디 아니 거기 가가랑에 되기 신년을 마대를 라디서 거기 단다 연된디 용사기 용혼로데야 제가로 당아서 추지인반의 추딘 중 토마디야 충고 간 도서지 고라 디 가든로 되는 말 중요야 되고 고라 그래서 대인들선 sama thusa te thogar ta lama sanji sa ta goya te rang jul giwa khar choma na sanji ke thelen den chong go te chong go ya te lama sanji sa ta mai na ta ta thelen cheba den ju go ra da den dik chan she
so if we go a step further here try to be more specific it can be understood as the seeing one's guru as a Buddha himself, being one of a very important condition or causing condition to receiving or being a receiver of or being able to experience any form of the Buddha's enlightened activities. I believe that's the translation in English, enlightened activities, when we say tinde. Right, so being able to having that quality of seeing one's guru as the Buddha himself provides one with that condition to experience and to receive that kind enlightened activity. It's understood that any virtue or purity that we have or experience is among the enlightened activities of the Buddha. Anything that we experience, anything that we have in ourselves that is virtuous is understood to be an extension of that enlightened activity. So in order to bring about further experience, to bring about a stronger practice, to bring about this growth, that condition is needed in order to to move forward. And so that can be understood. It can be understood as a condition, a conditioning of receiving or experiencing, or having the capacity, kind of the gate that opens, or the gateway that opens the capacity to receive or to experience the enlightened activities of the Buddhas. And so without that, it becomes very difficult to experience and to progress.
And then I was told that the landing under the John side told was not that only to the Ingu at other. And she judged Lamitan to the Shuchamu Dando, and the London's margin Judan share. Judan at the margin Nagi the Shijado. In the Tutashan, but Tutawama Magashina, the Chabatesi, the Kashina, and Dodi Tetsu Kalina, and Sanji. Sanji na shenche tawore se atende yo res tuta biche bates yo nandu lanjo so nga so jurang kondo na ke chaba.
And so for this kind of this particular concept of seeing one's guru as a Buddha, various explanations of this can be found in different texts, and they can differ according to the different schools of thought as well in terms of their explanations. The particular one that we're talking about, liberation in the, I assume that's the text that, yes, the liberation in the palm of your hand. What it's referring to when it, I mean, a lot of the emphasis and the angle comes from tantric practice, and so a lot of the explanations on the guru and how one should see one's guru as the Buddha himself are from the angle of Tantrayana, whereas if you compare it to maybe one of the texts, in one of the Sautrantika.
Not so much, right?
Nari Shamanalo, Sanjingan Taji would then say, okay, so Sanji Dushi shower.
Yeah, so like the Chamo, and then one was one that Geshe brought up, like in some of the Sautrantika texts. It will say to view one's a guru like a Buddha, or as if they are a Buddha, not as the Buddha. And so there can be different, I guess, explanations and different ways of looking at this concept, depending on which text you're going through.
We'll see what Geshe Gyeltsen has to say.
Yes. 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 So that's a really important and interesting point. We'll stop there for today. Yes. We'll continue with that. Maybe that's a good place to start off from next week. So thank you for your participation, and hope to see you next week. I'm sorry, forgot to do the dedication. So as with all our Dharma activities and spiritual events, we end each one with a dedication of our merit, or the positive imprints and the potential that was accumulated today. The dedication of merit, we'll be doing that through the recitation of merit, and this is the recitation of the dedication of merit, and this is at the back, or this is at the end of the text on page 69. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma throughout the world. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May his sacred mandalas of body, speech, and mind be unharmed by negative intentions and actions. May he and other great masters be successful in fulfilling their dreams and visions for benefiting all sentient beings. Let us dedicate our positive energy to all spiritual communities throughout the world so that they may flourish in their study, contemplation, and meditation. Let us dedicate our positive energy to the elimination of the problems in our world, such as famine, war, and conflict. May everyone in this and other world systems experience peace, happiness, and harmony. Let us dedicate our positive energy to ourselves and to other Dharma practitioners so that we may overcome all obstacles to spiritual development. Let us dedicate our positive energy to ourselves and to all sentient beings so that we can purify the obscurations to liberation and omniscience and quickly reach full enlightenment. Thank you, and hope to see you next week.